Well, here I am making another video. It's been a while since I made a video. Well, lots of reasons why that is. Mainly because the holidays were here, so there was just so much to do, But I wanted to take this time today to really talk about something. Like, during Christmas, as you all know, I had gastric bypass. And I was losing weight fine, not as much as I would have wanted to, but whatever. Then the holidays hit, and Thanksgiving was fine. I was still losing, but then Christmas came along, and I actually gained weight during Christmas, and that was really devastating for me, to be honest with you. And luckily I am losing again now that Christmas and the New Year are over. So, but I think that a lot of us, when we want gastric bypass or we're thinking about getting gastric bypass or whatever, I think the process, there should be another step in the process. Because a lot of us do what we're supposed to do to get what we want, which is ultimately it's the gastric bypass. And so we do the bare minimum basically to get approved for the surgery, which all they really care about, it seems like, is the insurance. I mean, yeah, you see a psychologist and you see a nutritionist and stuff, but I think that there should be like a cooking course, like a 3-month-long cooking course with a nutritionist. I think that if you really want gastric bypass, that this is not too much to ask as a step for gastric bypass, because honestly, a lot of us, we don't take account for what like butter or olive oil, we think in our minds, oh, we're eating healthy, we're eating a salad, but then you don't take in consideration that you put a couple tablespoons of dressing, and like 1 tablespoon of dressing could be 120 or 150 calories. So really, you have to watch everything. You have to weigh out everything. And if you don't, that will ultimately cause you not to lose weight. And that has been my struggle, I knew some of this going in. I learned a lot of it because I was on GLP-1s, which I'm still on. That's a whole nother conversation. But I just think that even though it did take 9 months, almost 10 months, for me to get actually approved for the surgery, a lot of that is because I had to wait for I had sleep apnea. So I had to get that under control first. It took a while to get the machine. So the whole sleep apnea problem was literally, it took like 3 months to get that down to where it needed to be, where I was breathing and sleeping the way I was supposed to. And it was really hard for me because I don't like things on my face when I'm trying to sleep, and I think a lot of us could say that. And so sleep apnea was a difficult thing for me to finally get. That was a loophole that was hard to get through to get my gastric bypass. But if it wasn't for that actual thing, I could have got my gastric bypass probably at 4 or 5 months, and it's not because you do see a nutritionist and you do see a psychologist, but they have to be able to weed out people that are just saying what they want to hear, basically, because that's what I did. I said what they wanted to hear. Yeah, I knew the basics of healthy food and eating and stuff, but I really didn't think long term. I didn't think, I thought like the gastric bypass was going to stop me from eating junk and all the delicious like foods that I wanted to eat, Mexican food, Italian food, Greek food, all this food, the Chinese food, The gastric bypass is not a miracle. It's not going to magically make you not want to eat these foods. You are still going to crave, fast food and junk food. There's just no way around it. And until you get in your head that these foods are out of your life for the rest of your life, because if you're anything like me, if I'm sitting there watching a movie and I'm eating a couple chips, I can't eat a couple chips. I eat and I eat and I eat, and then, oh my God, the bag's almost done, And I think a lot of us are probably similar to that same situation, It's like food and it sucks. It's not like drugs. Drugs you can give up. Food is different. You need food to survive. And now it's like, I don't know exactly. I'm kind of resetting myself now, because it's like I'm not losing very fast, which is fine. But I mean, I'm losing my Christmas weight. That's so far I've lost 9 pounds worth of that. But so I'm almost back down to where I was at Thanksgiving. That's what I mean. I did not think in my mind that I was eating enough to gain weight during Christmas time. But we don't realize that. You don't realize that, that Frappuccino that you're drinking is probably over 1,000 calories alone, and, all these types of foods that we consider delicious and they're fast and it's easier to make up, but it really isn't. These foods are they're terrible for us. But anyways, back to, I really think there should be some kind of cooking course in gastric bypass in order to get the surgery. You should have to take a 3-month course on how to cook healthy foods and how to shop for healthy foods and how to make foods that you normally wouldn't eat good enough to where you want to eat them, I think that that would be probably the best thing because a lot of people eventually they fail. I mean, some people lose a lot of weight and then they fail later on during the gastric bypass. They gain all their weight back, and well, if you don't learn the tools you need to learn before the gastric bypass, nothing's going to change. You're still the same person. The same things that caused you to want those foods in the first place, which a lot of it, I think, at least for my family, my mother was a waitress, so that a lot of times she wasn't home to cook. She was a substitute teacher during the day, and then she waitressed at night. So when a lot of times she would just say, come up to the restaurant and get something to eat, before I get off work, or she'd swing by and pick up some KFC on the way home, So we, at a very early age, had the desire for these fast food, junk food. And I think a lot of people with working parents, it's easier to make Kraft macaroni than to actually make something sustainable and healthy, I think that it's not really anybody's fault. It's just the way it is, the way a lot of us with working parents, that they had no choice. They didn't, they weren't home to cook. And now it's even worse, because nowadays the economy is so bad that both parents have to work. So there's nobody home to cook these children sustainable foods and foods that are gonna be healthy and satiating, you know? And so now, that's why they say, if you watch anything, they say how the obesity rate in children are just outrageous, you know? And the parents just, they don't know what to do. What are they going to do? No one's home. The kids got to watch themselves, you know? And it's a very complex thing. I think a lot of it has to do with the government, but I'm not going to go into there. It's a whole nother subject too. But these foods are designed to be addictive. You know, they hire scientists. This is a fact. You can look it up anywhere. They hire scientists to make these foods addictive, to make them where you can't just eat one or two chips, you have to eat the whole bag, you know? And it's not good. It's really, it's a touchy subject. And anyways, I just thought, I was just thinking of that, and it crossed my mind, so I thought I'd mention it, you know? But it's really hard losing weight, even with gastric bypass. And when I was on the GLP-1s, those were hard too. I don't know why people make it seem like they're a quick fix, an easy fix. They make your like you have no hunger. That's a damn lie. You still are hungry. The only difference is when you first start taking a GLP-1, they make you feel nauseous. They make you feel like if you smell chocolate, you're like, oh God, get that away from me, you know? You feel like you're gonna throw up if you have to smell that, you know? It makes you not want to eat because you feel ill thinking about that food, you know? That the smell of the food irritates your stomach. So it's not because you don't want to eat, because trust me, I really ate healthy when I was first on Ozempic, you know, and I was disappointed that I wasn't losing weight, traumatic weight, you know, like constant, like 100 pounds in a week, you know. It's just not logical, but you know, in our minds, fat girls like myself, that's what we want. We want a magic fix, but there is no magic fix. And we have to come to that realization. No amount of GLP-1s is going to fix it, and no amount of cosmetic surgeries are going to fix it. If you eat unhealthy, you're going to gain weight. And yes, you may lose weight in the beginning with gastric bypass. And yes, you may lose weight in the beginning with GLP-1s. But just like anything, these medications you get used to. The GLP-1s, you get used to them. And you are more than able to eat junk food again. It's just in the beginning, when you first start taking GLP-1s, you feel sick to your stomach. The foods just don't taste inside. They don't smell appealing. They make your stomach really upset. So that's why you lose weight. Plus, your digestive system, it slows. It's very slow. So when you do eat, like when I was on GLP-1s, the main thing I would eat was like a deli sandwich on rye, tiny bit of I mean a smidge of mayo and Swiss cheese and lettuce and tomato, and I craved that like almost the whole time. That was like the only thing I was able to eat. Sometimes I'd eat some soup, but for the most part, most foods made me ill when I first started taking Ozempic, so I could not eat junk, you know. But those foods eventually, that sick feeling goes away. and you're able to eat chocolate again, and you're able to eat chips again and fast food again, you know. Though these GLP-1s are not a magic fix. Maybe briefly they are, you know, but if you don't learn the tools you need to learn before gastric bypass or before GLP-1s, or at least while you're on these GLP-1s and while you have gastric bypass like myself, I'm trying to like teach myself now to eat better, because I'm not going to let this surgery go to waste. I'm going to do what I have to do to lose weight. That was my plan, you know. I'm not going to fuck it up. You know, I'm just not. I've already feel like a failure so far because of I haven't had that great of success during this surgery, you know. But I'm going to get back on track, and well, I am. I'm starting to. And I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to learn to enjoy. I gotta protein. They keep stressing that, and I understand it, and I'm starting to see why. Because I've noticed that when I'm exercising now, I feel weak, you know. I feel like my muscles don't feel like they work like they used to, you know. I used to be as strong as an ox, you know. I could do anything, man. But now it's like I'm like a fragile, weak person. I can't do anything, you know. And that's not good. And that's because there is an amount of muscle loss, you know, from GLP-1s and from gastric bypass, you know. So that's why they stress that you have to have protein. And protein is it's more difficult than you think it is to get into your diet. Like I had, oops, sorry. I try to eat eggs in the morning to get the protein mainly. But I noticed that, for some reason, my body totally rejects eggs. No matter what, over easy, scrambled, boiled, poached, it doesn't matter. No matter what, I eat them and I chew really small. It took me an hour the other day to eat two or three. I didn't get 3 eggs. I got 2 eggs down. And after that hour, when I was finally got it all down, I ended up throwing it up. And then I was sick the rest of the day. Like my stomach felt like something was blocking my esophagus, where I couldn't eat or drink or anything. I don't know why eggs have that effect on me. If anybody else has that, let me know. I want to know what that's all about. Anyways, I guess I better go. This has been a long video, but I'm going to try to keep making videos, even though I know I'm basically talking to myself. Nobody actually watches my videos, but it's okay. It gives me something to do, and, well, anyways, if anybody's got any advice for me, you know, to help me along with this journey with my gastric bypass, some tips you may have picked up, and please feel free to let me know. Please, I'm begging you. I just really, I don't know. I need to be more diligent. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.